Okay, we are live, and
word?
we're live.
We here?
I'm trying my best to manage all of these properties all at once, and it's so much tech, so much things. I didn't actually. I have no idea. I have no idea what you think of Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm gonna learn that right now.
Okay.
And then we're gonna take it from there, as I try to make sure that all of this tech stuff is fully functional and not stupid. So.
Hey, listen. I know you captain in the ship. You're just trying to make sure we don't sink this bad boy. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And thank you again for allowing me to be a part of the process, man. This is what's up.
So the first most important thing is to make sure we can be heard by the audience. Can the audience hear us just fine? Is the audio okay? Audio's okay?
Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth?
Yes. Can you hear Sintel? And can you hear the music at all? Sintel says the music's supremely low. So.
I hear it. It's
Anyway.
It's good though. You always have some really good music selections.
So anyway, I guess we're good to go. I'm not seeing any complaints in the chat here. We can hear y'all. Yes, excellent, great.
Yes.
I don't know what this was. Audio's okay. Yeah, audio good. Great. I can crank it a little bit. Loud and clear. Audio's fine. Good audio. Okay, awesome. We're good to go here, man. What did you think of Deadpool in a nutshell? Deadpool and Wolverine.
Over-delivered.
What? I was not expecting to hear you say those words. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Listen, over-delivered in some interesting ways. Over-delivered when it came to fan service. Absolutely. Over-delivered when it comes to some of the fight scenes. I was not expecting them to be that good. Over-delivered when it came to some of the more nuanced things that we as Marvel fans like really enjoy when it comes to like the Easter eggs and things of that nature. I was not expecting it to be as strong as it was. It is my favorite of the 3 Deadpool movies.
Wow. Whoa. Wow, as Ryan George would say. Wow. For some reason, I was expecting you to have like negative feelings. And you saw it twice or just once?
I saw it twice. I just got back from the second showing about an hour ago. Over an hour ago.
Do you see this in front of me?
I see a white piece of paper.
No, this is like a bunch of notes for every single scene in the movie. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I tried my best to detail like the entire film. Just like general notes so that we could go scene by scene and kind of really break it down. And because like I want to like really take this thing apart. So you don't know how I feel.
I was about to say you just gonna sit there and leave me like this, man. You better tell me what you're feeling.
Well, they know. I really enjoyed it, and I think that it might be my favorite Deadpool movie as well. Watching it a second time, I'm like, okay, I can see why people were complaining about the movie, their issues with it. I totally get it. However, it's designed to be a hangout movie, kind of like a Tarantino film. It's designed to be a hangout movie, and it totally flies and succeeds at that. One of the things I accidentally cut out of my non-spoiler review is that the bar for Deadpool is really high, and I think it surpassed it. I think it went well beyond the scope of the assignment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that people forget is, I personally have not read any Deadpool comics. Have you?
No.
Okay.
I've skimmed them, but never like got into the lore like hardcore. To be perfectly honest with you, the little bit that I knew, the majority of it I learned from the franchise.
Okay.
If I'm being perfectly honest.
So here's the thing to me with what I know about Deadpool since I've learned about him. Did I ever tell you how I learned about Deadpool? Like my very first experience? Okay. So the way I learned about Deadpool was actually through auditioning Deadpool. Not Ryan Reynolds, but Deadpool for a Comic-Con appearance many years ago. I was like reading the script. I'm like, who's this Deadpool guy? Who's this Chuckles? And as I read the script of what he had to say, I'm like, this guy's amazing. He's so funny. And I fell in love with the character immediately. And then every time I've seen him, he's breaking the fourth wall. He doesn't. Any instance I've seen him, he doesn't really have his own story. He's more there as like this sideshow. And so the fact that we get a story at all with heart, I feel like that's a win with Deadpool. It's like his whole purpose is to basically be the Jack Sparrow of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And he has his own trilogy now where there's heart and redemption and goals and purpose and he cares about things. I'm like, you're getting a lot from this character that's supposed to be just a sideshow. And so everyone complaining, I'm like, I don't know what you were hoping for, but I got about what I was hoping for. So,
well, I think people were trying to squeeze like Shakespeare out of this. I'm like, the story is trash. I'm like, you don't go to a Deadpool movie to see story. And listen, I know what the people that have been fans of the channel, I know they're probably looking at me rolling their eyes because I am the main person shouting from the top of the rooftops, the mountaintop, that story is everything, and I still stand by that. Story is everything, but there are exceptions to the rule. There are exceptions to the case. Fast and the Furious is a perfect example.
Yeah,
their story is trash,
Yeah.
absolute garbage, but as far as an entertainment value is concerned, it's legendary. There's a reason why there's 55 of these things, because you go in there and you have a good time, and I feel that's what this Deadpool franchise is here. You're not going to see some jaw-dropping Shakespeare. You're going to enjoy some popcorn and laugh with your friends, and in that sense, it knocks it out the park.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the things I observed in my second run through of the film is where it spent time. And so, like, where every scene in the film, I don't know if you noticed it the second time around, but every scene in the film actually spends a considerable amount of time in each location. That is much more than you might get in something like Fast and Furious or any other Marvel movie for that matter. Usually you're kind of blowing through locations, and it's an action film where it's very plot-driven, so you're just moving along. Whereas Deadpool allows things to linger, and I think that's just because it's the nature of comedy. It's like, you pick a spot, you have your setup, jokes. That's the point, right? And I'm like, okay, like, it's interesting to me that the budget was $200 million because there's lots of things that are $200 million that look horrible and are just, steaming piles of, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think that they used their budget very well. There were some instances of CG where I'm like, well, that's clearly not Hugh Jackman, who's like moving towards Deadpool right now in the beginning of their fight scene, right? It's CG. Yeah. But like, I thought it was used sparingly and intelligently, just enough to effectively tell the story that he wanted to tell here. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. There was nothing CG wise that took you out of the moment. I mean, absolutely nothing. And that's very difficult to say for anything coming out of Disney as a whole, Marvel, Star Wars, anything of that nature. So I think because of the roots of Deadpool and what Ryan Reynolds had to do in order to make it happen, I think he's coming from a space of less is more, because he had to do so much with the first one, right? With such a limited amount of funds, limited amount of press and all that other stuff. It was pretty much a grassroots project that took off for the most part, if we're talking about the very first. Yeah. And when you come from those kind of humble beginnings, when you're in your third one and you crack the fourth wall in your life, much less in the movie, you come from a more humblest kind of space. So I can understand why every single moment has to, he's probably looking at the budget and like, I got X amount of money to do this in because I remember where I came from. I think that's what we're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was a very efficient and economical use of time in the movie. People were saying how things lingered and whatnot, and I'm like, okay. So I looked at the total runtime, and I looked at the timestamps of how long he spent on each scene, and I'm like, I actually feel like this was a lot tighter than people are giving it credit for. Like, it actually is more efficient than people realize. But that's my feeling about it. So let's just jump in then. So the very beginning of the movie starts with Deadpool digging up Logan, right? And so he's going through it, and he's like, that's not how healing regenerative powers work, blah, 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 blah. And then, it cuts to he's next to the skeleton that looks like Terminator 2. It was like the whole theater died laughing. It was great, and to then use that as a weapon to fight the TVA. It was just brilliant,
Oh, it's chef's kiss. It's chef's kiss too. Because I do remember when the rumors of the possibility of it happening, and they were talking about like, where does this fit in the timeline, and then disrespecting the legacy of Logan, because Logan is such a beloved movie. It's a top 10, maybe a lot of people's top 5 regarding Marvel projects, and it's beloved, and you don't want to kind of like tarnish it. I've even heard maybe a couple of instances of the director of Logan feeling some kind of way about multiverses, kind of like souring the milk of this, that, and the third. So you kind of got to have like these kid gloves when you're dealing with this. And for Ryan Reynolds to be like, now I'm gonna desecrate his corpse. like as soon as we get into the theater, we desecrated this man's corpse. You exhumed the body, and used it to stab other people with. I was like, yes, this. Because if there's any character that's like, F what you think, it's Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's him.
Yeah.
It fit perfectly.
I feel like, contrary to the thing you just said, I feel like Ryan Reynolds actually showed all of the material he was clowning so much love. Like, so much love. Because like in the middle of the scene at the TVA, he runs up to the camera and he goes, "Fuck Fox." I'm at Disneyland, baby. And it's like clearly he's just joking, and he loves it. He loves it so much that in the post-credit sequence, he had that whole that love he was showing to 20th Century Fox, all the X-Men films and everything related to that. At first, I was like, "Why is he showing this?" Because it's not just the characters in this movie. And then I realized what he was doing, and I was like, "Oh, gotcha!" Like this is actually showing so much love to the material more than people would have expected.
Yeah, I think so. It's also, it's a hat tip to your roots.
Yeah.
You can. It's like, I think he jokes with us because we're a part of the Marvel family. But if anybody else was to make jokes about it, you'd feel some kind of way. It's one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
But he does it well. He does it with style.
Right.
That's the thing I love. What'd you think about the dance sequence to go along with the opening sequence of digging up Logan and then him like doing the whole, what was it, NSYNC? It's one of them boy bands.
I think it was NSYNC.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
I enjoyed the shit out of that. The only critique I had for it, and it's something I realized more the second time around. I felt it the first time, but then it like really crystallized the second time, was it went on a little long. That was my only thing about it. I'm like, this is hilarious. This is fun. But then it just keeps going. And I'm like, okay, you told the joke. It was enough. That was my only thing about it. But I feel like most people watching it just love the shit out of it and don't have that feeling whatsoever.
How was the temperament of the theater when you saw it on both times?
Loved it.
I went one, and it was more of a press screening, so it was a little more serious. And then I went when it was like fans. And it was two totally different vibes. I was just wondering how the temperature was.
The first time they loved it, just like hysterical. The only thing that made it better was the older white mom sitting next to me, because I don't think she knew what Deadpool was. So she's because in the opening it's so violent, with Deadpool beating up all the TVA, but it's like, to me it's cartoony, but it's like so aggressive in its violence. The mom next to me was like, "Oh my God, oh God, oh dear, oh my stars, oh Lord, oh God," and I'm like, "Lady, what movie did you think you were about to see? Like, did anyone give you any heads up? Did you see a trailer? It's got lots of this in the trailer,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say my second view, it had tons of kids in it, like little bitty kids.
Whoa.
And I was like, man, I felt kind of bad about that. Yeah, because they're like kids
weird.
That might have been like under the age of like 12. Like I was like, it's a little for that age. And I know titty boppers are gonna see it. Like kids 16 and up, there's no way you're gonna keep them on. 14 and up. But, when you get to like 10 and under, it's like, oh, that's a little cringy. A little cringy.
I think I had to be 7 or 8 years old when I watched the movie Cliffhanger. So I think when you're that age, you're chasing those kinds of movies because you're not supposed to see them. Also, kids today see so much more than we saw when we were kids.
That is very true.
Like, I remember what I was exposed to that I wasn't supposed to see as a kid, and I see what's out there now, and I'm like, dude, they are grown-ups by the time they're 6. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So what was I going to say about that opening? One of the things I love about this, before I forget, one of the things I love about Deadpool 3, because he jokingly says he's Marvel Jesus in the middle of the movie, right?
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, you know what though? He says it's a joke, but I feel like he's actually telling the truth.
I'm here to save you all.
He is here to save. Like, he brings it all together. He references the show, right? And he goes, "Oh, Eliath from season 1, episode 5," and it's like, there's so much to keep track of, and he saved you time, audience. In case you haven't watched Loki, he tells you where to go pick up on that, to understand contextually how this all fits in. Because the thing is, before coming into the MCU, Deadpool was his own thing, and there wasn't really any greater function to it, right? There wasn't really any greater story. It was just Deadpool in his own little whatever you want to call it, his microcosm. Now it's got to function as part of the MCU. And I feel like he did a phenomenal job of doing that, of bringing in people that we want to see, like excellent cameos. Like he gets.
Oh, we're not even gonna get to that just yet. You want to do that now?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm playing my hand a little early. But I'm just saying, like, if whoever was responsible for deciding who to bring into the picture, like, they really understand what the audience wants to see, and managed to tell a very entertaining story with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, there's something I found very interesting too. The first couple of days when Deadpool first dropped, I want to say Rotten Tomatoes, it was like a 60-some%.
Oh, really?
From reviewers. I thought that was kind of weird, and I was like, that's wild, because that's not the experience that I had, when it came to fans watching it and everybody just having a really good time. So I think there's like a highbrowness that comes with Marvel now, and Deadpool is the antithesis of that. Well, I don't think that word is supposed to be used for that. It's the opposite of that.
Antithesis and opposite are synonymous words. Yeah,
right,
so
right. So I was kind of in the right general direction. Yeah. So I feel like now, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, it's in the 90%. Last I looked. That's
okay.
90s for like audience score. So it's like there's two different types of people that have like these kind of expectations of going into this. I think the whole, maybe the concept of him being, Marvel Jesus to tie into the more serious notes and tones of what the Marvel MCU brings, maybe brings in that kind of expectation that it's gonna like maybe share that type of tone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you've got the rest of us, who know what Deadpool is really about. Right. And it's like, whatever it is that you think he's supposed to be, throw that out, and then just come in the theater and just go have some fun. And I think we're seeing that difference and with the Rotten Tomato scores being so drastically different.
So I wanted to just get my IMDb up so that we can like easily reference people as needed. I know you always got IMDb up and ready to
always, man.
Ready to go. So I just want to make sure I can be able to do this real fast. So but this is putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but how did you feel about the villains? We have Cassandra Nova and Mr. Paradox. Those are the two key villains in the story.
All right, so the British invasion is in full effect. You got the guy from Succession that's in there. He's amazing in Succession. I don't know if y'all have ever watched Succession. He's amazing. He's one of my favorite characters in that show, and he's dope. I don't know if that actor was meant for this particular role. Right. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad to the point that I keep ruining the film. It ain't that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, what's her name? Who was Charles Xavier's
Cassandra
baby sister in the womb mates?
Yeah, her name's Cassandra.
Yeah, I liked her. I liked how powerful she was. It just felt like maybe I wanted a little bit more, maybe even a little bit more backstory. And I was disappointed in the way she went out. I was like, dang, well, just like that? Okay. And, they kind of like swept it up and kept it moving. I don't think the villains made the movie when it came to this one. How did you feel?
I will say that when the villains first showed up, well, in particular, sorry, I'm covering us up for just a hot second so I can get this sorted here. There we go. I didn't realize that the dude from Succession was a villain so quickly. Matthew McFadden, Mr. Paradox.
Yeah.
I loved him in Succession. He's probably like one of the favorite characters of that show. I agree. And so to see him pulled into this, I thought was pretty cool. And when I realized his function in the TVA, I was actually happy because I was like, oh, this is so fascinating, because where Loki season 2 leaves off, it seems like everything's hunky-dory. A B-15 or whatever her name is takes over and kind of revamps the situation, and now it's all paradise and peace in the TVA. Only it's not. Not everybody is on board with this new, laws that you put into place. Namely, this dude. He just wants things to be how they used to be. Make the TVA great again. That's good. I approve that message right there. That was hilarious. So, I thought he was actually a cool setup, and to have Cassandra Nova, it's like someone said that they didn't connect with her in the comments. Of my non-spoiler, they're like, they didn't really connect with her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can see why you didn't connect with her. I can see like why people felt like she just wasn't very deep. Even in the movie, they kind of call it out. They go, because like towards the end of the film, Deadpool goes, "Why are you like this?" And she goes, "I wish I could tell you." Like they're sort of mocking, these villains who are like kind of just that one-dimensional. And so, but the thing is, like the shit with the hands going through the face and all that.
Yeah, that was wild.
It made me uncomfortable. It made me really uncomfortable, more than all the blood and the bones and all that. Like, that made me uncomfortable. So
he said, "I'm getting fingered and not in a good way."
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm like, they did an effective job at making me feel discomfort with her. So as far as what a villain should make me feel, like, no, it was nowhere near on par as what I felt with Killmonger in Black Panther.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for it, though, Yeah. So I thought that she was effective at making me feel discomfort and concern for the characters, because I'm like, you got two people who can't be killed, except, I mean, Logan did die. But essentially, two characters who can't be killed, right? Because they have the healing powers.
Right.
But the thing is, like, you've given them a villain, an adversary that feels way more powerful than them. How are they going to be able to stop her? I actually asked myself that question while watching the film, and that means that the film did a good job. I felt a little bit of peril. So after the opening fight, we're going back through this again. After the opening fight of the TVA, it kind of uses the method of Deadpool 1, where it goes, "Hold on, we got to back up and explain how we got here," Kind of like, well, that's a method that's used a lot in movies and TV shows, like Breaking Bad did the same thing. It backs up and goes to 2018 meeting Happy Hogan. How'd you feel about the Happy Hogan scene?
I think it's great because first off, it's a bit of a hat tip. If you're gonna go back to the beginning, Happy Hogan and Iron Man are like, for the most part, kicked off the MCU outside of the brother that kills vampires. But so it's for them to kind of like go back to the beginning and then have Happy kind of do that as well. I thought that was kind of funny. And the guy that plays Happy, Jon Favreau.
Hold on. You just said something really important. So, if indeed Blade actually becomes part of the MCU, because in the middle of the movie he goes, "There's only one Blade.
There's only one me." Yeah.
I'm like,
I love it. I love that and especially because all the problems they have. But go ahead, finish your thought.
It's just fascinating to think. Well, was Blade before Ben Affleck's Daredevil? It was, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it
Blade was actually like the first successful MCU film.
Okay.
Like the first successful, the one that like really like cashed out was Blade.
If Blade becomes canon, he is the beginning of the MCU. Indeed, that's wild to think about. Because it's like, well, he's not. I was like in my brain, in the nerd brain, I'm like, well, he wasn't part of the Phase 1 and all that. But I'm like, wait, that all gets thrown out the window if he becomes canon, because then he's like actually part of the whole thing, right? I know. Yeah, and stupid thought. Sorry.
And then there's that thing at the very end when Deadpool is asking, "Old girl that's head of the TVA." Well, in the very end, like, I got some friends that need to come back. It kind of sets that up, right? Mm-hmm. So we may have some reiteration with B-15. I think that's her name when he was talking to her.
They left it open-ended. They left it open-ended.
They left it open-ended. And listen, I know we're kind of going off track, but I want to say this before I forget it. You know who I was disappointed that I didn't see as a cameo? I only had one disappointment. Howard the Duck. I thought that because he was Howard the Duck was the very first MCU film. Like, not MCU, it was the very first Marvel film.
Okay.
The first.
Okay.
Was Howard the Duck.
Okay.
I thought that if there's any one character that is in the box of misfit toys, the thing that nobody really wants to talk about is that version, George Lucas's. I think it was George Lucas that directed it.
Yeah, I think so.
George Lucas's version of Howard the Duck. I thought if they would have brought him in, the original one, not the remake one that you see in the glass tubes in the MCU, but the old school original, the little people in the duck suit, that version, and my heart would have absolutely leaped out my chest. That's my only small complaint with the cameos.
Before we get into talking about the next scene with Happy Hogan even more, I wanted to ask you about how you felt about the. And I don't mean this in a negative way, just a curious way. How did you feel about the violence and the profanity compared with Deadpool 2 and 1? Because there was all this concern about Deadpool being integrated because they're like, oh, Disney's gonna like, sanitize it and make it, where Deadpool doesn't cuss anymore and there's no more violence. Yeah. And the movie right off the bat threw all of that out the window. So it almost felt like it overcompensated a little bit, just a little bit. You know,
over-delivered.
Yeah, it over-delivered. Because someone in the comments complained on my non-spoiler saying, "Oh, there's too much F words," and I was like, I can see why you'd say that. Normally, that would be me saying that. But I went into this movie expecting that. I was like, it's Deadpool.
It's a Deadpool movie.
It's a Deadpool movie. Yeah.
That's like going to a Fast and Furious movie. Like, there's too many cars. There's too many cars. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a Deadpool movie. Of course, it's gonna be some language.
Yeah. And so, I told him, I was like, look, if they had fewer F words, I wouldn't be mad. It wouldn't hurt me. But the thing is, I went in fully expecting that. It's like, if I watch South Park, I'm expecting them to cuss profusely. If I'm watching any movie or show by those creators, I'm expecting it to be vulgar. So it's dumb of me to get mad at the vulgarity of something when those people are known for making that kind of stuff, right?
Read the room.
Exactly.
Like what you think he was walking into? Like that to me is borderline. I know y'all gonna go ahead and boo in history. That's fine. That's borderline nonsense. Like you walk into a Deadpool movie. You should expect to see tons of blood.
Sure.
Tons of gore and very inappropriate jokes. But I did think you brought up something that's very important. That is, how does that fit in the Disney narrative, right?
Yeah.
And I think Disney is probably reaching that point where they're going to have to realize like their true blue, heartfelt, family-loving catalog is probably not going to be the thing that's going to just full on pay the bills with the expectations that they presume. You're going to have to bring in other elements. And Deadpool is another element.
Yeah, to shake it up.
Yeah. And also, the Disney Plus experience is vastly different here than the Disney-esque type plus overseas. Their version of it, like in India, is different. The version of it in South America, in South American countries, is different. I think here ours is the one that's a little bit more family oriented. So I think our American version of Disney Plus and all the affiliates that come along with it, Hulu and everything else, is catching up to the rest of the world where it's not just a safe place. It's just a place where you come to get good content.
You're right. I know in India it's totally more, grown-up oriented. So that's only over here that Disney kind of got that image of being more for family and kids. So the Happy Hogan scene, what that showed me again is Ryan Reynolds and how skilled he is, because he actually he navigates between farce and emotion so well, because he has this moment where he's saying what he wants, why he's here, what he's about, and he actually wells up with tears because he's so committed to the material. And he goes, well, should I be saving this? Because you're not the guy. I'm like, yo, the ability to do that is crazy. to swing from making me feel sorry for you right into a joke. It was it's so skillful. Because especially when that's the kind of movie you're going to watch, and to still to have surprises like that, it's wild to me. So.
Well, and Happy Hogan's such a great character because, he has to take these out of pocket heroes and kind of tame them. That's what makes his relationship with Peter Parker so funny, because Peter Parker's all over the place. He's a teenager, and you send in Happy Hogan, the person that really doesn't have the time and the energy to deal with this because I got to deal with Tony. Yeah. And now he's got to deal with these kids, and now he's got to deal with Deadpool. It's perfect. I thought that was spot on.
Yeah. So moving forward, we got our scene with the locker room of Drive Max. First off, 6 years later, car dealership, car scene with the family, where he's like, "Sorry, I don't have vaginal sex too often." Right to the kids. The funniest thing is about
that's the Disney scene. I think that's the Disney scene that we just got done talking about. Is he's in the car with the family and F-bombs are falling out of his mouth. She's we don't use that kind of language.
Well I just remember he was so subtle and so straight man about the way he delivered that. The entire audience collectively didn't even realize what had happened until 1 second later, because he said the line and it just seemed like a normal a casual apology. And then everyone processed collectively what he said, and then laughed. It was like a collective latent laugh. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like that in a movie theater before, where everyone got the joke late. And then he's in the dealership with Peter, his Peter. Then the surprise birthday party where we're getting anchored into what he's fighting for. And so the reason I'm bringing all this up and kind of going through these details is because of the shit the movie's getting from some people about the paper thin plot, and I'm like, I see what you're saying, but the thing is, like, it does all the things a movie's supposed to do. Like, we're introducing his dilemma. What does the character want? What's in his way? All that stuff. And what is he fighting for? We get to spend time with his friends and see, like, what it is that means everything to him. Because Ryan Reynolds kind of talked about it a little bit, very, very little bit in Hot Ones. Did you see the Hot Ones thing he did?
No, I missed that one.
You should
Go
check
ahead.
it out. You should check it out.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, like, you have all these movies that are dealing with the end of the world, and it's like, I think that Tenet kind of showed us that sometimes, like, the end of the world doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's just not that big of a deal. It's like when the stakes are so big that you can't really wrap your head around it, you start to be disconnected and it doesn't mean anything to you. So the movie made a point to keep showing you, like, he's got this photo of all the people that matter to him. And that's something that we can identify with and relate to, right? And I think that's cool. It's like, it's very smart. Like, that's his end of the world. If he loses those people, he doesn't care about the globe. He cares about those people. That's his world. And I think that's awesome that they did that, and they kept reminding us of that. So that's my feeling about it.
No, I think that is brilliant. I'm sitting here, I'm processing that, and yeah, I mean, and it's very Deadpool too, because, you know, there's a very selfish element to Deadpool, and he's like, I don't know about the rest of the globe, but I'm gonna protect me and mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then he gets picked up. He goes to meet Mr. Paradox for the first time, and he gets suited up and all that. And we spend.
Which is great. The suit up scene was amazing. Because you see so many of those scenes where, you know, especially when it comes to, like, you know, I don't know if it's like Batman or the Flash or whatever it is, and everybody's got this tight spandex, and you know, there's always like that scene where you gotta show the cheeks, you gotta show the cakes.
Yeah.
And for the tailor to keep smacking them cakes like that was hilarious. He's like, your tailor's got a problem. It's like he might be a predator.
You know, the funniest thing is when I saw that scene, I thought that was on purpose because Deadpool wanted that. And then when Deadpool says he might be a predator, that's what tickled me more than the montage itself. Was the realization that he didn't actually want that. So we spent like 10 minutes at the TVA, just so you know, because he arrives at about 18 minutes into the film, and then we don't get our Logan montage until 28:30. Like, that's a large chunk of the movie to spend at the TVA, but I don't think it was wasted. I think there's a lot of exposition and stuff like that.
Lot of exposition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to get through. But it also set up a joke that kept coming back, where he goes, "Why is Thor crying?" And it never paid off. That was that upset me that it never came back. I'm like, no, we need this scene. What happened?
But, you know, we got some really big stuff happening in the future, right? Especially like Secret Wars coming in. And now that Deadpool is firmly established in the MCU, I don't think that's a throwaway, that imagery. Okay. I don't think it's a throwaway. I think we're going to come back to that in some way, shape, or form. I'm assuming some comedic way. But that was not just for to be a bit. I don't feel that way.
Okay. Yeah, so using the TVA as sort of like the... I don't know what you want to call it. That's what sort of kicks things off into the second act of the movie is the TVA, and I thought that it was actually really cool that they integrated all of this stuff from the MCU. It's like Ryan Reynolds looked at all of this stuff and he's like, okay, what can I take in this sandbox and play with? And I thought it was cool. I'm just like, this is so brilliant that he was able to take all this material and fuse it together. Not just what Disney has been doing, but also from Fox. And to like be the first film to really like be the marriage of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Deadpool would be the character to bring it all together? And
but that goes back to the Jesus reference, you know. I mean, not to get too much into the theology, you know, he was the man that you least expected in order to make that level of change. Right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously, you know, it's very tongue-in-cheek comparing, you know, the Son of God to Deadpool, but you know, you can connect the dots, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
So, that propels us into our Logan montage, which we'll talk about in a hot second. I want to ask you first an important question. How did you feel about not having the two characters that Deadpool associates as being part of his family, Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, and Colossus?
there's just not enough room. There's not enough air for that. If you're gonna do this, I'm sure there probably is a director's cut where they probably have an additional line or two, especially just from that family meeting. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good minute or two donated to that. But if we're being honest, we didn't come here to see them.
Yeah, that's
true. To see Wolvie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so it's not till about 30 minutes into the movie, 28 minutes and 30 seconds ish, that we properly start to see Hugh Jackman as Logan, and the very first one actually made me really happy because he addresses the thing that a lot of people have talked about, which is like Hugh Jackman is way too tall to be Wolverine. And then they show you comic book accurate Wolverine. I'm like, all right, you put me in my place. I'll shut up now.
Yes.
I'll just shut up now. I won't
People
ever
forget he's a little person. Like he's a small dude.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's like under like 5'5" or something like that.
He's like 5'3" or something, or approximately.
Really, he's even that small. Yeah, I knew he was a small person. Yeah, but and then when you see him, you're like, you're the little dude making all this fuss.
Hold on, I want to look this up. How tall is Wolverine?
I say 5'5", 5'4", somewhere around there.
5'3".
I know he's not like under 5 feet.
5'3".
He's 5'3". Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 5'3".
You know how weird that would look.
It's like he keeps wondering why Jean Grey denies him. It's like maybe she's not into the short king. So, it might be that simple.
Short king.
It might be that simple. But that I thought that was a great way to kick off the montage of all the different. Now you might have to educate me a little bit because like there was stuff in that montage where I'm like, I don't recognize all of this.
Okay, so I loosely recognize some of them, like the one that was kind of like being crucified on the X. I remember seeing that comic book as a kid.
Okay,
I do remember seeing that one, and I also remember the Logan with the patch that kind of like had like the tuxedo on.
Oh yeah,
remember him.
It looked like Casino Royale to me, but
what
was that?
Okay, now I don't know where that fits into the Logan timeline, but I do remember seeing it. And the other one I do remember, which was a really cool nod, was when he had the brown suit and he said, "Isn't this the one that you fought the Hulk in?" And there's actually
so that's called
a cartoon.
That's called the John Byrne brown and tan.
Yeah. And that Wolverine versus Hulk is it's legendary. So for them to kind of like do like a little micro hat tip to that, I thought that was dope. Now the old man one, I don't really remember him.
Yeah.
And I don't know the story behind the the actor that played oh my gosh. The Witcher, the guy that played the Witcher.
Oh, Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. I don't know the behind the story on Cavill and him being Wolverine. Is there a story with that?
It might have been that he auditioned for Wolverine or something at one point, or they thought about replacing. I don't know. I'm just making that up, but that would be my loose guess. Is that at one point they considered him for that role.
But I thought that was a great reveal, though. I didn't see it coming either, and I was like, "Oh, wow, he does look good as Wolfie, though." Like, I was like, that could work, actually.
Yeah, it could. And so someone in the comments says, I can't really emphasize it, but it says, and the one with the eye patch is just named Patch. I know Mike TWNG says, I know the eye patch one from the comics when he was hanging with Captain America. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's completely unfamiliar to me. But we have comic book accurate Wolverine, black spandex post-apocalyptic Logan, which I don't know.
That was new to me too. The guy with no hand. I had never seen that one. You talking about that one, right?
With the second one, it looks like something out of an '80s movie where it's like fire and it's just. It looked like Highlander 2 or something. It just looked post-apocalyptic, and he had a really tight black outfit that looked like some kind of BDSM thing with the shaggy hair.
I didn't know nothing about that Wolvie. I was like, Wolvie got his hand cut off? What's going on with that? I don't know about that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then we got the Casino Royale one that someone said is just called Patch. After that, Henry Cavill, Clint Eastwood, who is what I called the old man Logan on the porch.
Is that who that's supposed to be? Like I thought Logan was old man Logan.
I just called him Clint Eastwood because he looked like Clint Eastwood to me. He says old man Wolverine. He did. Old man Wolverine in the This is Gare Bear 7800 says old man Wolverine in the montage was the original old man Wolverine comic called Logan, comic book accurate than the movie adaptation. Oh, gotcha.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the Clint Eastwood from Unforgiven vibes too as well, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then the Logan on the X crucifix, I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
I just remember the cover. I do remember that cover.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what it's about, though.
So the whole thing with Henry Cavill was great because Deadpool literally goes, "We're gonna treat you way better than those guys down the street."
Yo, because they messed my man up. Like, they messed up future projects. We couldn't get him for The Witcher because of that. Like, what are you doing? Like, you messing with this dude money, man.
I don't often feel bad for rich people. He was someone I actually felt bad for because he was trying to do right by the audience. He signed up to do The Witcher if they could do it in a way that respects the material. And that was his condition because he loves video games like nobody's business. And then he finds
a Warhammer guy.
Yeah, exactly. Then he finds out they're not doing that. And so he's like, okay, they're offering me Superman again, thanks to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Let me go do that. And then that gets canned after he already agreed to give up The Witcher. I'm like, damn, what a situation. Yeah. I felt bad for him.
I'm so bad for him, man. So bad for him. And you know what? And I feel like us as Witcher fans, too, we got cheated because The Witcher took a big turn after he left, you know, for the most part. And I can't even lie, I barely even watched the last one because I'm like, come on, man, Henry's my dude, man. That's my Witcher, you know.
So Terrence Nazare says Henry Cavill was one of the actors that auditioned to be New Wolverine. So
New Wolverine?
Yeah, I guess that's what it was called.
Wolverine on the
Wolverine on the Cross is Jubilee joining the X-Men and the first appearance of the Reavers. Very important issue. That's according to Serenity Q26. Okay. So Age of Apocalypse.
Well, see, but that's good proper fan service for the people that like really do the deep dives.
Yeah,
like I would never consider myself a Marvel expert. I would never do that.
Yeah.
But I am a fan enough to, you know, recognize the big stuff. So that's more for you all that like really get down to the nuts and bolts of
someone earlier in the comments said something. I'm not even going to bother looking for it. I'll try to just like paraphrase it. But someone earlier in the comments said, this is a movie about two losers who prove to everybody that they're actually better than everyone thinks they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I've seen this movie too before, like two losers trying to prove. Was it Dumb and Dumber?
Who knows? But yeah. But I actually thought that was a great summary of it. And so at 30 minutes, 30 seconds, is when we finally get the bar scene that completely contrasts all the other Wolverines we just encountered, where you get the Wolverine who doesn't even throw a punch. He tries to go and he's got the whiskey claws.
The whiskey claws. That to me, yo, the whiskey claws cut me deep, dog. That was funny.
He doesn't even fight. Like, that was the most unexpected non-Wolverine thing ever, because when we're introduced to Wolverine in the X-Men movies, the first thing we see him do is fight. That's the very first thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's fighting in a cage match. Like, and that's you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And so for this to be his introduction into this movie, it contrasts everything. Not just Wolverine as we know him, but the other Wolverines we saw in the movie. To really emphasize that this guy he's at the bottom of a bottle. he's at a very hard low point in his life. And so to have this movie about redemption for both of these characters in the third chapter of Deadpool is brilliant to me. I don't know how you managed to pull that off, but to have another redemption story on top of that is just remarkable. That's one of the things that I walked out just so happy about. It's like, how did you do that? And you actually made me care about these characters. That's crazy. So
it was so believable too. Yeah, like especially like I think Hugh Jackman doesn't get enough credit regarding this rendition of Wolvie and him pulling himself out of the bottle, and the frustration and the final acceptance and all of that. Like his character arc was magnificent. Deadpool's character arc was kind of just okay. It was like okay, you kind of saw that happening. You may have some cool, tugging your heartstrings kind of moments, but Hugh Jackman's Logan was something. Yeah, I thought that was really good. It was really exceptional. It was above what I thought too.
Well, okay, so in improv class, they teach you. I'm saying this for the audience, not for you. In improv class, they teach you that oftentimes when you have like a comedy scene, what you want to have is a straight man and the Joker, right?
Yeah.
And so that they played that all the way through the film, and like Hugh Jackman doesn't deviate from that. He's the straight man throughout the film, and it works so effectively. It's so brilliant because he's he accesses that emotional stuff so easily. Ryan Reynolds does the same thing, but he's often like he goes there, he visits it, and then he goes right back into the jokes, and it's perfect. It's well balanced. Did you catch when he walks back into the TVA? He goes, "One anchor beam coming up on your left, baby girl."
Yeah. Little hat tip to Cap.
Yeah.
I love his fan service for Captain America because everybody loves Captain America, and then he has that one line. I'm gonna have to paraphrase it. He was like, he's the one character that every white guy can kind of like forget about and embody. That whole thing. But there is something that's very like beloved about Captain America. So him doing that kind of fan service was funny on your left.
I'm a little surprised Disney let him have the line. Welcome to the MCU. By the way, you're joining at a bit of a low point. Like the entire audience.
I wonder how much like leeway they gave him. Like I wonder how many times the script had to change, or they was just like, you know what, you've proved it to us these past 2 times. Have fun.
Yeah.
Just don't have us like getting an X rating. But outside of that, do you, boo-boo?
Yeah. I mean, it felt like there was no bar. Like, you just do whatever you want. No holds bar.
Some people took offense to that. Do you think I personally feel the MCU is in a low moment? That's just me personally. But do you feel that way?
It seems like the zeitgeist collectively feels like the MCU is not in its heyday at the moment. It's like this is definitely kind of a low point. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like it's always hit and miss. You know, like I watched Loki season 2 and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then I watch Echo and I'm like, oh my God, why? And then you know, it just goes back and go ahead.
Secret Invasion.
Yeah, Secret. Oh God, exactly.
How do you ruin that? You had Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
How do you ruin that with Sam Jackson? I'm calm. I'm good.
Yeah, but then you have something like. I know that this is a little bit of a branch off, but Spider-Man No Way Home, I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, I had a lot of fun with that. So it's just hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Shang-Chi was a lot of fun. Yeah. So it just depends. It's half 50-50 is what it comes down to. So where are we? I lost my place here. That's 35 minutes into the movie is when they're sent to the trash heap, the void.
Oh, we get that great first epic fight coming up.
Yeah. So okay, tell me your feelings about the fight. Like I want to hear it.
I loved it because first you throw him in a place where you can have absolute and complete destruction and not have to worry about anything getting into the way. It's like the Dragon Ball effect, right? Just some random place and you can absolutely do your worst. You've always told me, you know, to watch fight scenes with a different eye, like with a third eye, and you always told me about the importance of storytelling in fight scenes, and that you can tell something. You can add another layer to the story already being told through some of the fighting. And I love how bespoke it was to each character. Like watching Wolvie run on all fours was awesome. That was dope. Like the animalistic parts of it. Him always going like to the midsection with some of that was just like some of the telltale things that define who Wolverine is. And then, you know, seeing the finesse that Deadpool does have, because don't get it twisted. He was, I think it was a SEAL or some type of special forces kind of dude. Like he does got hands. Like let's not pretend like he doesn't. Yeah. And then, you know, to add the comedic elements to go with it, it's over delivered. You're gonna hear me say this a lot.
Okay.
Over delivered. Go ahead. How you feel?
Okay, so just to set the audience up about like where I come from, I'm the one who's like hypercritical when it comes to action and fight scenes.
Very.
And so Sintel's fully prepared for me to like go all in and tear it apart and hate on it. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the reason why I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now here's the thing, like comes with a caveat. You have two characters that can't kill each other, right? They just can't. The stakes are not really there as far as, oh my gosh, what happens if one of these characters dies? It's not. That's completely gone. And like usually, generally speaking, I like that to be in a fight scene. It's like, why are we having a fight scene if there's not peril, if there's not some sort of stakes for one of these characters, right? And the thing is, it's a hangout movie. And so watching these two go head to head is like two bros who are getting into it with each other. You know what I mean? Like when you fight with your best friend, it's like, oh, I want to hurt you, and like, but you're not really gonna hurt them. It's your best friend
Right.
or your sibling or whatever. And it felt akin to that, and so I enjoyed it on that level, where it's just like, this is just fun. We're hanging out. It's a brawl, and it looks cool, you know. And as far as like choreography goes, I actually thought that they allowed the choreographer and the stunt coordinator all involved to really flex and do their thing and do it well. You know, is one of those things where it's like, yes, that's a very well executed fight scene. Thank you. Because I think that maybe we are out of that era where fight scenes look like crap. So, because, you know, for the longest time, we would always reference like Hong Kong cinema and be like, oh, yeah, like we don't do it. Like, you know, American fight scenes are so stupid. Hong Kong cinema, though, like as a kid, that's how we looked at it. But now we've reached the point where there's such a merging of ideas and fight scene culture and whatnot that now we actually have fight scenes that look as good as they would in Hong Kong, I feel like. You know, like the execution of it, like you got the best of the best working on this stuff. It looks so good.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't even think about what you just said about Wolverine like running up like that. It's like, oh yeah, Wolverine does do that. I don't think I've ever seen him do that in a movie.
Yeah.
So, what were you about to say? I cut you off.
I was gonna say, well, it's little things too that kind of go along with it. That was really dope. Wolverine pushing the bullets out was kind of dope. And
I love that. I thought that was great.
And then pushing the bullet. I don't know if it was a bullet or a cigar or whatever it was out of his teeth at the very end.
Yeah.
I thought that was just kind of fire. I was like, oh yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. No, I thought that was great.
I was gonna say, and also we needed this fight scene, whether it had a purpose or not. We needed an action sequence after all of that.
Right.
After all that dialogue, because we got beat over the head over the TVA. For a while, so it came like right on time. And then I also like that, you know, it was a good time to break the fourth wall
with the 20th Century Fox.
Deadpool, the 20th Century Fox, and also when he's just like, "Yo, strap in. This is what you've been waiting for."
Yeah,
you know, like you're like you said. I think we're like 30 plus minutes in. I think that's what you said, 35 minutes in there, and we finally get to see Deadpool and Wolverine fight each other.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I was more excited to see that than the team up. If I'm being perfectly honest, I was like, well, how does that work? They have to fight each other. There's no way they're just gonna be like, hey, let's buddy and save the day. Now they had. I need to see some squabbling. So the timing was great. I like that.
No, the bullet thing I'm glad you mentioned that because I completely forgot about it. When you see the shot of Wolverine's feet and the bullets dropping, I was like, what the hell? Yeah. Oh my god, that's great. Like, it was one of those creative things where it's like you could have easily just not done that. You could have easily not had that moment, but you added it, and it's like. It's one of those extra little things that just makes it so cool, you know? Exactly.
Little things.
Because like
the devil is in the details.
If you cut that from the scene, you still effectively have the same scene, but there's something about it that brings it a little further for some reason that makes it just that much more cool. I don't know why.
What did you think about like all the Easter eggs that was scattered around the battlefield?
I must have missed half of them. You want to go into it?
Well, no, I mean the big one was the 20th Century Fox. I think I remember off the top of my head. I think I remember seeing like Thor's helmet. There was like some ships. But the big one was the big 20th Century Fox, like in the you know, the land of broken toys, the misfit toys. And it's one thing to have characters that are misfit toys. It's another thing to have like an entire brand that's like an entire studio that's considered like a misfit toy that's in the wasteland. Yeah. And like I think that was like we got our very first kind of like tie-in to like a tongue-in-cheek kind of poke fun at Furiosa. I think was in there too.
Yeah, that's right.
The first one came
well,
out.
because it looked so much like Mad Max for a hot second. And like for him to just call it out, I'm like, this is actually really smart. Like, I think it's called hanging a lantern, where you just like you call out the thing that the audience is probably thinking, so then you can get away with it. If anyone in the comments knows what that phrase is, I forgot what it is, but please educate me in the comments. So 38 minutes in, Deadpool negotiates with Wolverine to collaborate to fix Logan's world, and he promises him the TVA can fix it, even though he doesn't know.
Yeah, the promise.
Yeah.
the wish. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, apparently, according to IMDb, that was Ray Park who played Toad.
Oh, you're talking about after the Johnny Blaze.
No, well, Pyro shows up with Sabretooth.
Yeah.
And Johnny Storm.
So that was him. That was Ray Park. Okay. I missed that. Okay.
I was looking really closely at him, and I'm like, is that Ray Park? I don't think it's Ray Park. And according to IMDb, it is Ray Park. I'm like, okay, it didn't look like him to me, but according to IMDb,
Yeah,
it is.
I totally missed that. Hold on, but you skipped something pretty big. You skipped the first introduction to our first big cameo.
Oh, Johnny Storm, yeah. I was in stitches. I was so happy, and I was in stitches because we're all thinking the same thing. But I'm like, wait a second. There's got to be another element to this. There's got to be like some kind of other shoe's gonna drop moment because they're building it up, where he's about to say "Avengers Assemble," and it's like it was like such a dumb moment where I'm like, of course that's where they went.
Yeah.
Of course. Why didn't I see that coming? I don't know why I didn't see that coming.
I missed it too, man. They got me.
Yeah.
They got me all the way, yeah.
And
yeah.
I think it's because we were so wrapped up in the notion of Cap is back. Like,
well, they set it up so much in the TVA with seeing him on the
That's right.
screen and all that other stuff. Like, the setup was perfect.
yeah. It was brilliant. And then for him to fly, the whole audience lost its damn mind twice in a row. How many movies do you know that can do that? Like, first off, you know, you got him back. You got Cap back. And like, that's the idea in your mind is Captain America has returned. And then he says Flamo or whatever the hell his catchphrase is, and he scorches into the air. And I'm like, oh my God, the whole audience was.
That's right. He was that.
Yeah.
Oh.
The audience cheered twice, back to back, for two totally different reasons for the same actor. How many? That's freaking crazy. Yeah. Then you bring in Pyro, Sabretooth, and Toad. I kind of wish we got a better look at Toad because if this Ray Park, like that would have been cool to just give him a little bit more of a nod, more directly. But anyway.
I think that's more of a hat tip to Ray Park than it is the character Toad, because Toad is such a not memorable character. But Ray Park is memorable.
Yeah.
You know, so you're saying Ray Park played Toad, right?
Yeah. I think that Ray Park was memorable for me from my childhood just because it's Ray Park and he was Darth Maul.
Well, yeah.
And he was one of the first stunt people where people knew his name.
Yeah.
You know.
Very true.
And also I met the guy and he's so freaking nice. I met him like 3 times. Super nice guy. I'm like, why are you so nice? But why can't you remember me?
Yeah, they had some interesting throwbacks. So it still felt like Mad Max because they had the little bikes, chariot bikes pulling the thing, and it kind of reminds you of the dude in Mad Max with the guitar shooting out the flames. They had the Fantastic Four ship. I remember that, the little thing with the 4 on it.
I missed that. I just asked the audience, do you want to hear my Ray Park stories?
Oh, I do. Go ahead.
Well, I want to let the audience decide. I forgot to do. You're supposed to engage with your audience. I forgot to do the polls as we go along. So, yeah, I have 3 Ray Park stories, and one of them's. I feel like 2 of them are epic, and one of them's lame. Okay, moving forward, traversing the wasteland at 42 minutes and 30 seconds, and we're traversing with Johnny Storm. Now, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about how they use cameos in this movie, because you watch Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness or Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it really feels like these cameos are dispensed of almost immediately. Whereas the cameos in this movie, it's like, no, these characters are part of the movie, and I think that's actually pretty cool. I don't know. Maybe, and I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, well, I guess in Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, we did get that fight scene with Captain Carter and whoever else was part of that fight. I forgot who else was part of that fight scene. But, Captain Carter was certainly fighting, what's her name, And so I'm like, okay, well, in this movie, the cameos stay for a while, and I appreciated that. Because it wasn't just a hat tip to the audience and they're out. It's like they function as part of the plot. And an important part of the plot, in fact, because it was through Johnny Storm that they got to that they started to learn about everything going on with Cassandra and all that stuff. Yeah. So watch as above, so below. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with the audience. Okay, so my first Ray Park thing, I'll keep it short. The way I met Ray Park was through a friend who wrote a movie script for Ray Park. And Ray Park got wind of it, and he was interested, and he wanted to. He agreed to shoot a trailer for that movie. And my friend was like, "Do you want to be in a fight scene with Ray Park?" I was like, "Freaking yeah, of course."
Hell yeah!
So
absolutely.
So I'm rehearsing a fight scene with Ray Park, and it's like well after midnight, and I'm really tired. And I'm integrated into it, and they're like, okay, lunchtime. What is lunch oftentimes on a low-budget movie?
Yeah, pizza.
Pizza. Do you want to feed pizza to people who are doing fight scenes with Ray Park? I don't think that's a good idea, but I ate the pizza. I was very full. I was very tired. It was 5 a.m. by the time they wanted to shoot my stuff, and I was like, I gotta go. So I wasn't actually part of the fight scene that made it into the trailer, but most of that fight got cut anyway in favor of like visual effects stuff, so I wasn't too mad about it. But I still get to say I rehearsed a fight scene with Ray Park, so there's that. Anyway,
legend.
Story number 1 gone.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably one of our greatest American stunt legends, known stunt legends.
Yeah. So reveal of Cassandra Nova at 45 minutes and 30 seconds. And what occurred to me going through it the second time is if Charles is supposed to be like the epitome of good and hope, optimism, she is the complete antithesis of all of that.
Yeah.
And so they're like yin and yang. It's fascinating. And this is go ahead. Do you have a thought?
I was gonna say, did you know the story of Cassandra before this?
No.
Okay.
Never
All right,
knew
so I'm
about
glad
her.
it wasn't just me. That was new for me. I was like, Professor X had a sister? Okay. Sure, okay.
Yeah. And like as part of the exposition dump, she was left in the wasteland, in the void as a baby. Like, that's a crazy thought. Like, it begs the question of why didn't they just kill you? I'm sure there's a good reason why. But she was left there as a kid. And so it's like people were complaining about how she has no depth, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, well, she spent quite a bit of time, like, explaining herself and where she comes from and why. To me, she's just the Antichrist, Like, she's the opposite of Professor X in every possible way,
I thought the character was interesting. I thought her portrayal of the character was dope. I just wanted more of her. That's all. I was just more disappointed in just how she went out more than anything else. Everything else, it was interesting. I don't have any like problems with her, but she definitely plays dangerous very, very well. And off top, like I can't think of a better way to express why she's terrifying than yanking off Johnny Storm's skin. Like I didn't see it coming. I was like, what in the heck? And then his body just falls to pieces. It's like, I'm not messing with you.
Yeah.
Even Deadpool was like, hey, slow down for a second. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Chill out. My bad.
I don't think he saw it coming.
You knew she was dangerous.
I don't think he saw it coming. But like, what I want to understand is why was Deadpool amping her up, saying what Johnny Storm had said?
Well, I don't think he knew how dangerous she really was. And F Johnny Storm. And then come to find out, when you get to the post trailer scene, the post credit scene,
he was saying
and you find out that, it's like, okay, you talking all this junk. Let's see you talking now. He's actually spitting hot truths. Which was another great, that was a very, very good post credit scene because he's like, nah, y'all gonna have me looking like I'm the bad guy. I got footage.
Yeah. So Cassandra's hands through Deadpool's skull at 49 minutes and 30 seconds, and he starts messing with his head and stuff like that. I'm like, this is actually really cool. I can't think of, I don't know what other character did that because normally I'm used to seeing Professor X do that, where he's trying to access the good in somebody, and it's like really frightening to think about someone getting in your head and messing with your memories to like make you feel even more vulnerable and more scared, Were
you ready for that vulnerable moment that he had?
No, I thought it was great though.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And it reminds us what he's fighting for, because I think you need that in a movie. It's like they don't just show it to you the one time in the party scene. Like they're bringing you back to his memories to let you know what this is all about for Deadpool. And I think that's important,
Well, I was gonna say if I remember right, like at the end of Deadpool 2, like what I remember, they were kind of okay. Like he went back in time, saved her, and I just assumed that everything was gonna be kind of like hunky dory, like okay. But then you kind of start off and they're not together. She's got another dude or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it kind of like it was an unexpected breakup, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, they take you through it. The thing is, what Ryan Reynolds did that's brilliant is he accessed what the audience felt. They're like, why isn't Deadpool part of the Avengers? And they take you through that. It's actually really, really clever the way he handled it, because it's like, together the audience is like, oh, this blows that Deadpool's not part of the Avengers. And like, and so he uses that as a inspiration for why they've broken up, because he doesn't feel like a real hero. And so he's just in his depression state, and he can't seem to get out of his funk, which I feel like is actually really relatable. You know, a lot of people.
But didn't she leave him because he didn't want to become more? Because she said you kind of just like got sidelined and you never got back up. I think that's what she said.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, he was stuck in his mode.
Yeah, and then but I'm like, man, you over here at my birthday party? Like, you know, we broke up. I need you to be over there. I'm mourning. Maybe I love you. I can't have you around like this. That's tough.
I think that was the one scene where they missed a trick. If I had to be critical of anything they could have done better in the movie, because they didn't show me why it's so obvious these two should be together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? What I saw was things were awkward. I'm like, okay. But like, I should feel that these two belong together. And it's sort of hinging on my memory of Deadpool 1 and 2 as to why I'm rooting for these two people, like this Ross and Rachel kind of situation. I'm like, no, like, you got to show me in this film, in the confines of this film, you got to show me why it's important for these characters to be together. I don't know why they should be together. It's not obvious to me. That was the only
I think
thing.
I missed that too, though. I think you bring up something that's really important. I think I missed that.
Yeah.
Like the why they should be important. The only thing that kind of like brought me back to like making it believable was when he said, you know, your crazy matches my crazy, and I remembered that as a throwback, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's right. They were kind of like made for each other.
Yeah, you know? But they didn't show me that in this movie. So that's the only thing about that. 53 minutes in, Wolverine and Deadpool escape from getting swallowed by Eliath and assess what to do next. 54 minutes, they have the cafe in the wasteland, and Wade tries to understand Logan before going. Should we wait for a third act? What's we'll call it? Flashback. Yeah. I thought that was great to just like, you know, call it out. But in that scene, like we learn a couple things. We get more of a hint, like a little bit more reveal as to what Logan feels about himself and his history. Because, you know, Deadpool's like, where I come from, Logan's the X-Man. He's the dude. Yeah. And to know, like, just the dichotomy, you know, the juxtaposition of here's how Deadpool, it's like, it's not just a jealousy. Deadpool literally reveres Wolverine. He's like, dude, you're the dude. Like, you're the dude. And then Logan's like, not where I come from, bub. I thought that was actually cool.
Well, and then you get a chance to see, you know, just to the depth of his depression when he's like drinking rubbing alcohol. It's like, damn, man, like, wow, like, you down bad.
Yeah, he's like, that's how much he's trying to self-destruct. That's actually a good point.
I
didn't think about that. That's a great point.
As he finds himself more and more, the quality of his liquor increases. Like at his lowest, he's drinking rubbing alcohol, and then like when they go to a little bit later, when they find like the hideout, you know, he's drinking like, I don't know, some other mid-tier, and then by the time he's talking to X20, I forgot his daughter's name, X whatever.
Oh yeah, Laura.
You know, by the time he gets to Laura, you know, he's drinking Red Label. I was like, oh, okay. As you're healing, you know, you ain't stopped being an alcoholic, but at least your taste in liquor has increased.
Yeah. So that's right after that, Dogpool and Nice Pool, the maskless
Nice
Deadpool,
Pool.
They show up. That's what he called him in the movie, so that's what I'm calling him. Like that character. How did you feel about that character?
Nice Pool was funny because Ryan gets a chance to poke fun at himself.
Okay.
You know, I'm glad that I'm glad he kind of felt like nobody's out of bounds. You know, because like he takes some serious jabs even at Hugh Jackman's personal life, and for him to like make a character that's kind of like a joking version of himself, it's the face. You know, everybody knows Ryan Reynolds. Like you before you became the funny dude, you know, you were the face.
Yeah.
And for him to be like, you know, you can't touch the face, this, that, and third. I thought that was dope. But I'll tell you the one thing that did bother me real quick about that scene was I don't understand why people let dogs lick them in the mouth. For the life of me, I don't understand. I don't care if he's even for a scene. Not even for a scene. Don't be letting dogs lick you in the mouth. That's disgusting. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Normally I agree with you about that, but for this movie, that was the joke. Like for this movie, that was the whole thing. It's like I find it gross, but that's why I was laughing, because you got this whole thing where he loves this dog so much, it's just like it's damn near licking his tongue.
Yes.
And I'm just like, that is so nasty.
And it's an ugly dog on top of it. Oh.
No, you're right. That's what made it funny to me.
It was cringy, man.
I enjoyed the dog more than I enjoyed Nice Pool. Like, I could have done with less Nice Pool in the movie. But I mean, he helped function. He helped as a plot function. But I was just like, that stuff went on a little too long for me. Even the first time.
You didn't like the way he went out though? You think that was funny?
It was all right. It was cool. It was
okay.
It was okay. I didn't really care for it. It was just like that. From the moment he showed up, he was long in the tooth for me. I'm just like, it's a little.
That was what he's like. Nah,
I was just like, I don't need this.
I'm
done. But then they get in the Honda Odyssey. They have their little road trip, and then Wolverine realizes that he was lied to, and that's when he cuts him deep verbally before their fight scene in the car. How'd you feel about that scene?
I have to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to kick your. A couple things. One little off the topic. Let me get back to it. How in the world was Honda cool with them like trashing their product like that? That was kind of crazy.
Well, I think that some brands have started to look at things a little bit differently, where it's like it's okay to make jokes because, okay, cigarette companies, as a for instance, going way back to when I was a kid, they are not allowed to advertise in America, and they haven't been allowed to advertise for a really long time. The only way they can advertise, the only way they're allowed to advertise is by having shit talked about them through anti-smoking campaigns. And so there's this constant exposure of cigarettes that you would not have otherwise if it wasn't for anti-smoking campaigns. And so similarly here, I know that seems like a weird stretch, but like similarly, it's like, Deadpool is going to make fun of your shit, but he's talking about your shit. And by the end of it, he's like, actually, it's not.
About it.
Yeah. And by the end, he's like, actually, it's not bad. It's actually kind of cool. And they have a whole fight scene.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
He does praise it at the end. He was like, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. To me, the car scene was a sex scene. It's the closest thing you're going to get to a buddy cop sex scene that you could possibly get. It was messy. It was dirty. It was passionate, And then they're just exhausted, like at the very end. Yeah. And Deadpool is kind of tied up. So that's what I took from it.
Bro Bumma, our first and only super chat of this entire stream. Thank you so much.
Oh,
he goes,
thank you, Bro Bumma.
That might be it. That might be the only super chat today. He goes, your favorite X-Men movie. I think that my favorite X-Men movie is probably First Class. Sadly,
I think you stole mine.
Yeah, First Class is probably my favorite. Because either that or X-Men 2.
I gotta go with First Class.
Yeah,
because I didn't see any of that the way it went down.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah.
For me, that brought X-Men back. But
yeah.
Regarding the van scene, it was doing the same thing that the earlier scene did. It was like there's really no stakes here. They're having a conflict. They're having a fight, and they can't kill each other. And like the movie recognizes that to the point that they're like, yeah, so they're fighting, pan down to coexist. Like the sticker on the back. Like, where is this gonna go? They can fight until they're tired, basically. But you're right. I didn't look at it as analogous potentially to a sex scene. That's just so. That's a weird comparison I would have never thought of.
Yeah, and it is weird, but that's how it kind of felt. It felt like two couples fighting, and then you have that that angry sex.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm promoting it. I'm just saying it's a reality for some people. I'll just leave it at that.
Ian Bosch in the comments says, what did he say? He says, right, I said the same thing. It was like a fight sex scene in the car. The fight pays off. The line the bartender said, "You two gonna fuck or fight?" And it's both.
Oh, right. Good tie-in to the earlier parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. And they did both in I guess contextually speaking.
Yeah. Hour and 5 minutes in is when Laura X-23 shows up and takes him to the cave to meet Elektra, Blade, and Gambit. So
listen, I almost jumped clear out of my seat when Wesley Snipes showed up. I lost it, and I think I lost it to the point that it became infectious, and everybody else kind of lost it too. I don't know if it was a big pivotal moment for you in your theater, but in mine, I made it a pivotal moment in the theater because hat tip to the king, the man who started all this, Blade, a legendary, absolutely classic of superhero movies before the MCU even started, and to bring him back is the greatest hat tip to me that the movie showed. And you also have to keep in mind that, from my understanding, Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds did not get along in Blade 3. Like they
I forgot about that. I forgot that was even a thing. Okay.
Yeah. So for Ryan Reynolds to even be like, it's bigger than the issues me and you have. Let me just go ahead and pay a real cool hat tip and homage to you, and him coming in. And then he kind of even said something too. He was like, I still don't like you. I think he said something off that. That to me, my legendary moment of the entire movie was Wesley.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually a really, really good point that I wanted to make about this movie. Before I go into that, I want to acknowledge Ian Blosh sent us another super chat. He goes, which part y'all laughed the hardest? So, okay. I can't remember which one made me laugh the hardest, but I can remember some of the scenes that really made me chuckle hard. And early in the movie, when the TVA show up, while Deadpool is with Logan's body, Deadpool's head pops up and comes right back down. And for some reason, that tickled me like a fucking cartoon. I don't know what it was about that, about the physicality of it. It just really tickled me. When Logan poo-poos on everyone having that camaraderie moment in the cave, and they're like, yeah, we're going to fight Cassandra. And it goes, read the room. I thought that was hilarious. He had some great one-liners. Like when he was about to get killed by the TVA at the beginning, he goes, "Oh no, killed by a day player." It's like it's one of those.
There were some really good low-key ones underneath. Like if you're in the biz, you totally got. Absolutely, totally got. I thought that was great. You know, my favorite funniest moment where I really laughed, and it's so subtle, it's so small. It's the very last fight scene when he's about to fight all of the Deadpools, and it's a one shot that's going all the way across the street. There's a moment in the very beginning when it first gets started, because he's so happy to kill all these Deadpools, where he runs and jumps on top of this lamp, and he does this little like ballet kind of like la la la, and he shoots somebody in the head while he's doing it at the same time. I don't know why, but that to me had me laughing all the way out loud, because I was like, this dude has absolutely lost his mind.
There was so many funny things throughout all of that stuff. Like, I don't know if you caught it, but like the cowboy hat, Deadpool, he had no arms, right? After the fight scene, he had these like little baby hands as he was walking up, and it's such a throwaway moment that you might miss, I was.
You know what else is funny too? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No. What's her name? B. I always forget her number. B19, B14, B15, something there.
B15.
Yeah. Yo, when when Peter walks in and my man's junk is like busting out the seams, and she looks at him, and she just sits there, and it's this really long, uncomfortable pause. And I think what's his name? The guy from
Succession.
Mr. Paradox is like, yo, what is this? Yo, she's choosing, man. Yo, let it breathe. Peter and his package was hilarious to me, man.
There was something Mr. Paradox did the second time that they were in the TVA that I don't think tickled everybody, but it made me laugh, is when he was brought a sandwich. And Deadpool's like, "You're eating now?" He goes, "Anxiety makes me hungry." And he's like full of sandwich in his mouth. I thought that was great.
I think what cracked me up about that is that he had the edges taken off. Like he had the
bread stuff. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The bread edges. Yeah.
What are you, 8 years old?
Exactly. The moment when Deadpool kicks Logan out so he can go inside the room with the positive and negative matter, antimatter, the matter and antimatter, whatever room. And like
right.
there's the window where Logan's like, "Let me in," and he's like doing the swim and shit. Whatever the hell he was doing in front of the window, because you have that moment that's very much like the Khan moment in Star Trek 2, right? Like Khan after Spock, whatever. Like when he's making fun of that. Yeah, exactly. And he's totally clowning that moment. It's great.
Yo, I know you didn't like Nice Pool, but that moment when he was like getting him revved up, and he's like, "You're gonna live." He's like, "Yeah, maybe." No, why don't you say it with me? You're gonna live. And he's like, "I'm gonna live." Pop. I thought it was funny, man. That joy had me rolling. And then he was like, "All right, yo," and then he was such a jerk to this dude, because the setup for that joke was kind of funny too. Because in the beginning, he was like, "I'm gonna give you back to your dad in case until something until you get lost something or something happens to him." He's like, "Well, what would happen to me?" He kind of just looks at him and kind of leaves him alone. And then like you fast forward to him like taking fire with the dog and with Wolverine, and he's looking at Nice Pool, and he's like, over there by that donut stand is a triage unit. And Wolverine was like, "No, there's not." He's like, "Just come with me, we can get there." And it's like, "Oh, you set this dude up so you can take the ugly dog?" And he sure did, man. That dude got laid up with all them damn bullets.
The Gambit introduction tickled me a lot because like I couldn't understand half the shit he was saying, and whatever Deadpool said to clown him off of that made me laugh, because I was like,
dialect coach.
I was like I can't understand, I can't make out half the shit he's saying, and then Deadpool called it out. I'm like, "Oh, thank you," and that tickled me. But one of the biggest moments for me was the scene you're talking about, where Hugh Jackman stands up with the dog and just looks at all the Deadpools and just walks. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's a movie rule where you can't hurt dogs.
You can't kill the dog.
You just can't. And it's like, that is worse than killing a child in a movie, is killing a dog. And that tickled me. I'm like, they're playing with all the rules.
It's the look on his face too that he's giving to him. Like he's walking with a dog in his arm and he's looking at him like, "I wish you would."
So, okay, coming back to. Thank you again, by the way, Ian Blosh, for the second super chat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I know we went in on that one. That was a good one.
Very much appreciated. So in that scene when we're introduced to Blade and to Gambit and all that, how did you feel about Channing Tatum as Gambit?
So wasn't there like some movie lore about Gambit being like his own thing, maybe like a TV show or whatever it was, and like wasn't there like supposed to be like some other connection? I didn't know, that actor was supposed to play.
Someone in the comments just said that Channing Tatum was meant to have his own Gambit movie a long time ago.
Okay, yeah. So I do remember vaguely hearing of that about a Gambit movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know Channing Tatum was supposed to be the person that played it. So I just assumed, I'm just connecting the dots as I'm watching it unfold. I was like, well, maybe Channing Tatum was supposed to play that, and he never did, since he's the only one out of this group of people that has something to fight for, but never even got the opportunity to begin with.
Right.
So I kind of took that with it. But the dialect was hilarious between him joking about the dialect coach. I thought he looked corny. I thought there was something funny in that too. Like if he was to play Gambit, and if it was to happen like in like the early 2000s when when X-Men stuff was coming out and some of the uniforms could kind of look a little hokey, like we're being presented him the version of that absolute silly costume that it looks like, because it looked trash. The costume was trash, but I thought it was done on purpose, and I thought it was kind of funny. How'd you feel? You have to keep in mind, I'm still giggling and bubbling off of seeing Blade too. So
gotcha.
Everything else is a little bit of a blur.
I like many people have long wanted to see Gambit in X-Men movies, and like the fact that we never got him outside of this is a shame. Channing Tatum, I didn't know he was considered for Gambit, and I just thought he was the way wrong person to play Gambit, and that's what made me laugh. Is like, this is not the right dude for this role. That's what's comedy, and it simultaneously makes me sad that this is the only portrayal of Gambit up to now, and this might be the only portrayal of Gambit for a while. So, but the fact that we got Gambit in a movie is very satisfying. Finally, to see that his powers being used in the battle. I was like, finally, we actually get it. Like, this is actually pretty cool. Like that we finally. Ryan Reynolds understands the people. He has his pulse on the fans, and I'm like, cool. Like he gets the heartbeat of the audience, and it's like that. I felt seen in that moment. Like, like finally, Jesus Christ! It only took so long, and that goes right back to the core of like just their outfits. Like the fact that we had a yellow outfit for Wolverine with the mask and everything. And I'm just like, dude, this is love. Like this is a love for the material and the audience while telling an effectively entertaining story. So
I think Channing Tatum's being picked for that was brilliant too, because I remember when they were gonna redo 21 Jump Street, right? And I remember when the buzz was first coming out and nobody knew it was gonna be a comedy. Everybody just thought it was gonna be, I don't know, like a retelling of like when they did Miami Vice, right? A more serious version or whatever it was.
Okay.
And then I remember when they made the cast announcement and they said Channing Tatum, and then they said I forgot the other dude's name, Jonah Hill, and it was like,
Jonah Hill.
What? Yeah, it's like
random.
Yeah, it's completely random. And there was like, I do remember there being like, a little bit of a kerfuffle about that because nobody kind of knew like what are you gonna do with it. And then come to find out, it was a comedy, and 21 Jump Street was hilarious. Absolutely. It was a hit that you didn't really see coming. And Channing Tatum is one of the reasons why it was. So it's like for him to kind of be thrown yet again in a role that, diehard Marvel fans would take very serious.
Yeah.
And you have Channing Tatum yet again being thrown in this role. And it's like, does that fit? It seems a little weird. And then you see that terrible ass uniform to go with it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's perfect.
People are correcting me in the comments saying that there was actually a portrayal of Gambit before in one of the Origin films, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I somehow do not remember that at all.
Golly, yeah, some of them old properties weren't that good, so my memory kind of fades on some of these.
I've watched those once, and I was like, I'm done. I didn't go back. So forgive me for not remembering that. Like, because for me, it's basically non-existent. But cool. Like, I mean, how was his portrayal then? Because I don't remember it.
Not that memorable. Obviously.
I feel like that would stick in my mind if I. Then again, there's a lot of things I've watched that I don't remember. So.
Well, his portrayal of X-Men '97 was dope. I don't know if you saw. Did you see X-Men '97?
Oh,
the cartoon?
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, that was.
My favorite scene. Speaking of funny, my favorite scene in X-Men '97 was when it was like a horror house because like all their minds were being messed with, and they were all having hallucinations. And Gambit sees something with Magneto and Rogue, I think. And he leaves the room and he closed the door and he goes, Gambit can't unsee that.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
It was great. Okay, so after the little like rah moment and Wolverine poo-poos on it, then we have the Laura X-23 scene with Wolverine at the campfire where Logan kind of opens up. And he's like, this is what he's basically kind of telling the audience, like, what happened. Yeah. We're finally getting that reveal. And did that moment touch you, I guess, is the reason I'm bringing that up. How'd you feel about that?
That's one of those show, don't tell moments, right? I would have rather it than like a quick little flashback of seeing the X-Men kind of like, lose their life or whatever it was. To me, I think it would have hit a little bit more pivotal. But then in hindsight, you think like that would have been expensive and a whole other production nightmare in order to do that. But from a fan standpoint, that's a show don't tell kind of moment. I liked old girl who plays I forget her name.
X-23.
Yeah, X-23. Sorry, I think of Michael Jordan. Trey. All right. Think of X-23. She leaves what I think is one of the hardest lines ever in the show, and that is, you were never the right person for it. Or you were never ready, or you're never the right person. Yeah. I thought that was dope. They had that kind of moment, and then I think that's the thing that kind of like sobered him up as he's drinking his, Red Label.
Okay, so I told you I had 3 encounters with Ray Park. I thought I've been holding back on telling you the guys the second one. It's a little embarrassing. So, Dark Horse had a party at Comic-Con, and I was invited along with our mutual friend to go to Dark Horse. That's the night I hung out with Max Landis before Max Landis, had his storm in the internet where that anyway. Okay, so Max Landis was cool back then.
That thing.
Okay. And so, but anyway, Ray Park was at this party. What was also at this party was free alcohol. And when there's free alcohol, I drink and I drink. I do not stop. I'm just like, it's free. Are you like?
I've seen it.
It would be stupid to not drink as much as you can when it's free. Like not even considering the profiles of the people in the room. Like I was so drunk, I was the only one dancing, and then like random hot women were coming up and dancing with me, and I'm like, this never happens. But anyway, in the sea of people, I find Ray Park, and I'm just 3 sheets to the wind, and I go, dude, you were the best part of Star Wars, and he goes, thank you. He was very kind, and I go, it's bullshit that George Lucas only gave you one line in the entire movie. And Ray Park goes, he didn't even give me that line. He dubbed me. And I go, fuck George Lucas.
Wow.
And then he laughed, and I laughed, and I walked away. And like, he does not remember that exchange at all, thank God. So,
listen, if any of you all ever get the opportunity to hang out with Jaby, and he's had, a couple in, I promise you are going to have a very good time. Jaby is he's the happiest of intoxications.
So the movie is 2 hours long, approximately, right?
Yeah.
How far into the film would you estimate is the showdown, where our cobbled together X-Men, in the wasteland, fight Cassandra and her team?
Out of 2 hours,
yeah,
it felt like after they finished everything up, it was about 30 minutes to wrap. So I say hour 45.
Wow. So it's an hour and 20 minutes into the movie that fight starts.
Wow, really? That much time?
Yeah, 40 minutes left in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
It felt differently.
It did feel differently. I agree with you. That's why I wanted to test your memory of it. Because, like, and even in Nerds Engage in the comments said hour and 40 minutes. You weren't the only one. So the next 40 minutes is the fight, is the scene with Wolverine and Cassandra and her messing with his head again and her trying to, beckon him to her side. Cassandra getting shot, the helmet, all that stuff, and her sending them back through the Doctor Strange portal, the fight scene, the old boy fight scene. Like, all that is 40 minutes long. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah. It's nuts, right? So
that is crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you satisfied with that fight scene?
Which one?
The one when everybody comes in, the reject toys. Okay. No. I'm glad it wasn't me. I thought it was the weakest out of all of them.
I did feel that was the one I talked about in the non-spoiler review, where I was like, this one's padding. This one is getting you from point A to point B, because it's not really. This is a big fight for. I feel like a lot of people are emotionally, invested in. Especially when you bring in back Blade, when you got Gambit on screen for the first time. Yeah.
Oh my God, how did they not give him better fight sequences than that? That was such a waste.
And so,
he's kind of old.
But like, the thing is, I was challenging myself, going, well, how might most people feel about this scene? Like, I think a lot of people are going to be happy just to see these characters back and fighting, and that's enough. For me, I was like, the action's all right. It was cool. It
was just one big melee.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt like a lot of, inserts just coupled together, basically.
Yeah, you ever watch Braveheart, and you ever take a look at some of the big battle scenes, and if you watch some of the edges, especially around the edges, and you see some of the extras, they're just really lazy. They're not really swinging their swords. Some are kind of walking around. Yeah. Somebody's checking their watch. That's kind of like how this final fight, that fight scene kind of felt.
Okay.
It was all really discombobulated. You got Elektra on the scene. You got Blade on the scene. You got Gambit. Those are great opportunities to have some legendary moments. And it was just and then they jump in the portal.
I'm asking the audience, how did you feel about the showdown between how would you call this group? Deadpool's X-Men versus Cassandra Nova's team.
The Misfit Toys versus Cassandra.
Yeah. It was. I'm putting options right now. It was fine. Didn't like it. Loved it.
Who was that dude in the red candy cane striped shirt? Who was that? I felt like he was important. I felt like I should know who that is, and I could not connect the dots on that dude. You know what I'm talking about? He was on the bad guy side. He was on Cassandra's team. He looked like Where's Waldo?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right.
But
maybe if let me know in the chat if y'all know who I'm talking about. I was like, he stands out too much for him to. I feel like I should know who that is.
Key error. I don't know how to say this name in the comments. Key Eries says, Jaby, pause. Can we talk about the Doctor Strange dig? He's getting stuff constantly.
Yeah.
Is he? I don't know what they're talking about. What's he talking about?
When Cassandra was like, yeah, there was this wizard that popped in. You know, she was like, I pretty much killed him and wore his skin for a while.
Uh-huh.
She was talking about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I know who she was talking about, but like, is he constantly getting digged? Like, I mean, he's had a whole bunch of shit in the What If, but like nothing negative about him. What's he talking about? I need you to like expand on that because I don't know what you're talking about.
Now that I don't know if there's beef with him. Now that I don't know.
How many minutes of trailers did you get?
I watched the first one.
How many? You don't know how many minutes of trailers you got for the movie when you went to watch the movie?
Are you talking about how many minutes of trailers before I watched this this movie?
How many trailers? How many minutes of trailers? Do you know?
Yeah, unfortunately, I only caught one because the first one it went straight into it, and then the second one I showed in. How much did you get?
I included this in my non-spoiler review, thinking people are going to be annoyed that I'm saying this, but I just feel the need to mention it because it makes me so mad. When I went to watch it, my show time was 3:20 p.m. The movie did not start until 3:51 p.m.
Yeah, 30 minutes of previews?
31. And it's because you have it's not just like one movie trailer after another movie trailer after another movie trailer. It was also after all that, AMC had 3 of its own fucking ads, and I'm like, why? Why do I need to hear from you 3 times? Just play the damn movie. It's like you got Nicole Kidman, you got this stupid ass thing where this dude is eating popcorn and then it gets transported into a Fast and Furious thing. That ad chips away at my soul every time I watch it. And then you have this. So
I said he chipped away at his soul.
And then you have this this last thing where AMC is like, we've got the best theaters ever. If you see anyone weird looking, make sure you tell somebody. It's like, oh my good God, play the damn movie. It's like
you got the whole shebang.
Yeah. So and then in the comments on that video that I put out, people were like, thank you for saying that because I got 30 minutes of trailers as well. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't just me. And we're not talking just America. Someone in Canada got it too. And I was like, damn, they're doing everybody dirty off of this. Nerds Engaged just said 35 minutes of trailers.
That is nuts.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
The thing is, like, they know everyone's got like these pre-booked seats. So they're like, oh shit, we better load them up with trailers. It's like, dang, don't you realize that you're discouraging people from coming back to the movies by doing this?
That kills my experience all the way because it makes you feel exhausted when you finally get to the movie.
Exactly.
You know, you've already taken 30 minutes of my attention span.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So
that's terrible.
The thing I wanted to talk about earlier, I forgot about, was when you mentioned Wesley Snipes and how Ryan Reynolds put aside his ego to bring back Wesley Snipes for the greater good, which is his love for the audience and his respect for the audience. And I thought about that. I'm like, when I don't know what point it was in the movie where I was like, damn, this is truly a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Like, it's a shared movie because easily it could have been like akin to a glorified cameo that Wolverine's in this movie, but it's like very much a Wolverine story as well, you know? And I was like, that's so cool that we got another Wolverine story and a great one at that. It's a redemption story for Wolverine. It's like, that's just mind-blowing that we got this fusion of the two, and Ryan Reynolds' ego, he's like, he has no ego. He put that to the side. He wants this to be the best thing possible for the audience, And so much of the screen time was Wolverine and his story. That's what all I'm saying about that. So,
and he delivered, and Hugh Jackman delivered.
Yeah,
delivered. I don't know if we'll see him again. I hope we do. I'd imagine if we do see him again, it's probably maybe not be as action intensive, just because he's getting long in the tooth. He's got to be like 50 something, right?
Yes, but actually, you just made me realize. Okay, Ian Blosh, to answer your question, The joke that made me laugh the hardest is when Deadpool goes, Fox killed him. Disney brought him back. We're going to do this until you're 90.
So you can't run from this. Yeah.
I thought that was great. That was such a great line. Like,
I hope. Go ahead, finish.
No, it's just like you can only do that in a Deadpool movie. You can't do that in any other kind of movie, you know? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Random question. Random question. So when Cassandra was in Wolverine's head, right? And she was like digging through his memories, and he was like in Elysium in the fields, whatever it is, in the green grass. And there was those stone monuments that was beside him.
I have no idea what that
whatever
was.
it is. What was okay? I was gonna ask. I was like, what? I feel like I should know what that is, and I have no idea what that is. And there was like some screams in the background too, right?
Yeah, that's probably his. That's probably like his memory of his family dying, you know. So.
Damn, she is messed up.
She was manipulating his thoughts. So. Ian Blosh wants to know which joke made you laugh the hardest. Which joke above all jokes made you laugh the hardest? There's so many good jokes in the movie. It'll come to you later, I'm sure.
Oh man, I know. I think the one that just comes off the top of my head is when he set up Johnny Blaze, and he was telling Cassandra everything that he had said, and it was funny and in horror filled all at the same time when he yanked his skin off. I think I just had like I just had the biggest emotional response. How about that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was laughter or horror or whatever it was, but that moment was jacked up.
Oh, Terrence Nazare says, "Aren't those the graves of X-Men? They're tombstones."
The tombstones?
Yeah,
is that what they were?
Yeah, according to a couple people in the comments, they're tombstones.
Oh, wow, that's really dark and twisted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, several people said it was tombstones, so I guess that's what it is. People seem to agree on that. 90 minutes into the movie, Wade and Logan confront Mr. Paradox in the street, and Wade Wilson goes, "Why was Thor crying?"
He can't let it go.
That's one of my favorite jokes in the MCU. Is just it just kept coming back. Why was Thor crying? Thor was crying. Thor holds me. Why was Thor crying? And then we got
another small thing. It wasn't a big laugh, but a small thing that I thought was just funny was when Cassandra was going through old dude's head, the guy that was like the head
Mr. Paradox.
Mr. Paradox, when she was going through his head, and she's about to walk off scene to go down into the subway, and she like grabs his skull and like walks him away like he's a piece of luggage.
Yeah.
It's something about the way his body was dragging and his face being a handlebar. It just had the funniest of light chuckles for me.
It made me uncomfortable. Like that, it made me uncomfortable. That the whole thing with that, it just made me uncomfortable. It's like, it's so gross. And it's like, it's weird because it's not permanent. But it's gross. And
it's such a violation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think Deadpool even makes a comment. What are they called? The coaches for intimacy coaches or whatever it is. It's a new thing that's going on in Hollywood. Not new. But
okay. I have no idea what you're talking about.
New. So like if there's scenes, especially if it's like lovemaking scenes, sex scenes and stuff like that, they'll have somebody whose job is to make sure that the intimacy falls within regulated lines of I don't know, good taste.
Okay.
Right.
Respectable.
To keep it respectable in order to make sure the studio doesn't get any, unforeseen, lawsuits or whatever. Sure. And and Deadpool says something to that effect after he gets, face fingered, and he's like, "Yo, where's the intimacy coach?"
I missed that.
It's one of those, like, if you're in the biz, you get it. It's one of those kind of lines.
Oh my God, I totally missed that. I gotta go back and see that now. That missed that completely. So all the Deadpool variants arrive through the portal.
Yeah.
And that fight scene with Deadpool and Wolverine versus all the Deadpools was one of my favorite things of all time. Because like, not since like Oldboy and Shang-Chi have I seen something that cool. It's just like, dang. They're called an intimacy coordinator. So,
intimacy coordinator. That's what it is. I say intimacy coach. My bad.
So that, like, watching it, you see a lot of oneers in movies.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's cool. But like you can kind of see where the cuts are because when the camera pans or does something kind of cool and it's wrapping around somebody and it like goes behind their back, like you can, if you know to look for it, you can see the stitching in the edit.
Yeah, they got interesting wipes.
Right. And so in here, it's dollying right with the action. And there's one cut to like some other random shit going on before it comes back to it. So it's effectively 2 shots, right? And the first, I'd say 60% is one long take. And it blew my mind because I'm like, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you stitch this all together and hide the cuts if there's any cuts. It was so brilliantly executed from the choreography to the fighting to the way it's shot, everything, the visual effects. It all is so effective that it gave me wonder again. I'm like, how did you do that? You know what I mean? Like, because it's not often movies do that. But like, this is, of all films, a Deadpool movie was making me ask, how did you do that? You know what I mean? It was so well done.
So did you feel, let me ask you, did you feel the bus part was like a bit of a hat tip to Shang-Chi?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was copying Shang-Chi, and it upped it. It totally upped it.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to say before I forgot, Nice Pool, the only thing that made Nice Pool worth it for me, because I did not like him in the movie, the only thing that made him worth it was when he goes, I can break the fourth wall too. The proposal.
That proposal.
That was it. That made me laugh so hard. I was like, this is amazing. That was.
Oh, you know what you just said? Sometimes it'll come to you later. And funny moment. Yo, when the Deadpool's blind roommate.
Yeah.
When they was talking about the different names for Coke.
Yeah.
That joint had me laughing too. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was so many of the other ones.
I wonder. I would love to have been a fly on the wall, just in the room watching Kevin Feige's face, seeing that scene for the first time.
You know what I would love to see? I would like to see the first cut, because Feige was like, no.
Yeah.
You gotta take this out.
Yeah.
You gotta take that out. I would have loved to see what the original first cut was.
Yeah. The director's cut.
Maybe in the DVD.
Yeah. I lost my shit when Wolverine masked up. I nearly cried. Like, damn. Like, they're actually going there. They're actually doing it. I thought it looked a little funny, but I was so happy that they did it that I was like, it's fine. I finally got it. Like, the Wolverine in full getup. Like, wow. 20 years later.
I did think it looked a little wonky, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The helmet did look a little wonky, but like you, I was so excited. I was like, it's a pass. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
You did it. Yeah.
It was just like, finally. That made me so happy. So after that, the movie starts to wrap up at about an hour and 46 minutes with the redemption scene that goes on a long time. So where they're going down there. I mean, emotionally it was earned, though, because, Wade Wilson was like, I'm sorry I lied to you. And he goes, no, but you saved me, Yeah. There was like a nice bonding moment in there. And Wade Wilson pushing him out and going in. It's like they're doing all the tropes that you usually have with these kinds of scenes. But then they shared it. And, once again, he didn't do it alone. He shared that moment with Logan, with Hugh Jackman, and they saved the world. So,
was that Hugh Jackman's body?
Yes, I don't know for
really
sure.
That was really his body.
I don't know for sure, but it would not surprise me.
That dude is cut up like a 20-year-old. I was like, there's no way. That's got to be a body double.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But okay.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because he knows how to get cut. He's been doing it for his whole career.
Yeah, but that dude was like 50. Hey, hat tip. Y'all, you a soldier for that. There's no way in hell.
Yeah, I mean, but like if you know like the diet and the exercise and you got the team to help you get there, you only need it for one shot. It's just once. Like, I forgot, someone explained it to me with Chris Evans and Captain America, the first Avenger, when he's got that reveal when he comes out the tank and he's like yoked. They're like, look, he doesn't look like that all the time. He is pumping and pumping and pumping and eating right up to 20 minutes before that shot. He is pumping and pumping and pumping, hops in there. Quick, let's roll. Like, it's, like, it's like that because you don't look like that naturally, just out in the wild. So, I think that they could have gotten him to actually do it, but maybe he didn't. Maybe it was a double. I have no idea. So, anyway, we've covered the whole gamut of the movie.
I think we did. We covered it well, too.
Yeah. So, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed discussing it. And, yeah, it was great. Is the movie perfect? No. But I had such a great time, So, that's what matters at the end of the day. Did you have a good time? Were you entertained? It's a summer movie. That part. Yeah.
I was a prisoner in the moment when I first walked out, and on my review, because I was a prisoner of the moment, I was like, I think it might be a top 5 MCU film. It's not a top 5 MCU film. Now that I've seen it a second time, it's not. So I'll retract that statement. But I do think it can squeak itself into the top 10 though.
Okay.
I really did enjoy it that much, and it is easily the best of the Deadpool series for me.
Not everybody agrees with you. I think I agree with you, just because of how it tickled me, and everything it did for me emotionally. These are the things, though, that's like, okay, 20 years from now, which of these movies will actually be, which of these movies will stand the test of time? I don't think Deadpool 3 will stand the test of time like Deadpool 1.
No, I agree with you on that.
It's like
I agree with you on
it's
that.
kind of the Spider-Man No Way Home effect. It's like this is for a special audience of this moment in time. And that kind of almost makes it more special in a way, because like for me growing up, I was always of the mindset of longevity. It's like you don't want to use certain music in your movie because then it's not going to make it's like not going to resonate with people 30 years from now and blah blah blah. But this is one of those special experiences that's like an audience experience where you're in the theater collectively going, "Yo, this is like ABBA." Like you're like you're having this experience together. For those of you who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, ABBA only performed in America once, and that was it. And they never came back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're like, we don't
I
need
know who they are, but yeah.
They're like, we don't need America. we don't need you, U.S. We're good.
And done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it does. Now that you've said that, it does feel like a "Where were you" moment.
Yeah.
Where were you when Deadpool 3 came out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I said before, as it being a top 10, I think that will teeter down as the years stack on top of it. It doesn't seem like it is a longevity movie, not by any means, but for the moment.
Yeah.
The moment.
Yeah.
Oh man, legendary. Legendary movie.
Chiari's says Henry Cavill before each shirtless scene would do push-ups to get the pump, so Jaby's on point with that. Yeah. There was a little vampire short I did ages ago called Hunter. You might find it on this channel or on my other YouTube channel. And I by no means have Hugh Jackman's size. But at the time, I was like, for my size and physique, I was cut. And what I would do is every time we were about to roll, I would start doing push-ups and pull-ups just so I could be as much as possible, physically proper on camera. And it's like, it was remarkable the difference that would make. If you didn't do that, you didn't look as good, And so it was important. Like, that's why you don't really see, what's his name, who plays, who's the dummy from the Guardians of the Galaxy, the big guy, Drax.
Oh, yeah.
Like he won't.
I can't think of the actor's name.
You don't ever really see him shirtless anymore. He's like, because
he's old. It's hard to maintain that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then that's difficult. I do remember hearing something regarding what you said with Captain America. Like water weight goes a really big deal, and cutting water is something that professional fighters do a lot, and actors do too sometimes. So they'll go 12 straight hours without drinking anything, or
but then there's like
a whole day.
There's like a hangover to that though, and it's awful.
Yeah. Well, that's why you don't do it all the time. Like it's only for this scene in this moment.
Yeah.
And you cut weight. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's something.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys, this has been a lot of fun. So glad that y'all hung out with us for about how long are we hanging out? 2 hours? Shit.
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I can't wait to watch it again. And so can you. You guys, thanks so much. No, make sure you follow Sintel with the Intel on his channel. Links will be in the description for those of you watching this after the live stream's over. Thanks so much. Peace out.
All right, y'all. Peace.